When allies walked away, Earth's Deathworlders answered the call. The galactic empire known as the Tyrannic Dominion had grown faster than anyone expected. Their fleets struck suddenly and without mercy. Entire planets disappeared from the map, their cities reduced to rubble, their people enslaved or killed. The Council had met many times before, but never with such fear in their voices. Delegate Zoran of the Solari system looked around the massive hall. Representatives from dozens of species sat in their assigned seats, many of them fidgeting or whispering nervously. Hollow screens showed reports of battles lost, systems surrendered, and fleets destroyed. Most eyes avoided each other. Everyone waited for someone else to act first. "We must consider retreat," said a voice from the far side. It belonged to Talon, delegate of the foreign cluster. His triangular head twitched nervously. "We cannot fight them all. If we try, our fleets will be destroyed and our people slaughtered. It is better to save what we can." Murmurs ran through the hall. Some delegates nodded, others shook their heads. A few crossed their arms, lips pressed tightly. No one wanted to admit that the Empire was unstoppable. "Retreat," snapped Delegate Kella of the Orvani. "You speak as if surrender is honorable. Are we to abandon everyone because we fear a fight? If we run, the Dominion will not stop at our borders. They will come for every world, one by one." The debate continued, rising and falling like the waves of a storm. Each delegate spoke with reason, and yet every word carried the weight of fear. Alliances were crumbling before anyone even left the council hall. Promises made in the past were forgotten. Some species were already preparing to return home to defend their own worlds, leaving weaker systems behind to face the Dominion alone. Amid the chaos, one delegate, a small figure from a quiet world named Yanner, sent a silent signal. It was simple, almost desperate. He was sending a call to a species the council often overlooked: humans, humans. The word sounded almost like a joke to most species in the council. For centuries, humans had lived on a planet called Earth. They were known as Deathworlders, a species that survived a planet so harsh that no other race dared settle there. The atmosphere was thin in places, storms could tear across continents, and predators were ruthless. Yet humans endured. They fought each other, they fought nature, and somehow they thrived. Many council members respected them slightly, but most distrusted them. Humans were unpredictable, violent, and stubborn. They had been part of the Galactic Union long ago, but disagreements and disputes had ended their membership. Most members now saw humans as a species that should be avoided, not called for aid. But now, in the darkness of the council hall, the small voice whispered a message through secure channels: "Earth, help is needed. The Dominion moves faster than any fleet can respond. Allies abandon their posts. If someone does not act, millions will die." On Earth, Ethan Cole was asleep when the signal arrived. He was a former naval officer, a man who had spent his life surviving the worst the world could throw at him. Now, he ran a small training academy for humans who wished to serve in security or defense roles. The signal came as a quiet pulse in his personal communication device, but its importance was immediate. Ethan woke with a start. He frowned as he read the brief, coded message. At first, he thought it was a mistake or a prank. The Council, humans, galactic politics. He had not thought of the stars in years. Earth had mostly stayed to itself since leaving the Union, focusing on rebuilding after decades of disasters, wars, and resource struggles. He called Lucas Brown, an engineer who helped maintain Earth's limited spacefaring vessels. Lucas answered groggily, "Ethan, it's 3 in the morning, what's wrong?" "Look at this," Ethan said, handing over the device. Lucas squinted at the code, his eyes widening. "Humans," he whispered. "Why would anyone wait? This is from the Council." "Exactly," Ethan said. "They are calling us. They are asking for help. The Dominion has broken their lines. They need fleets. They need soldiers, and apparently we are all they have left willing to respond." Lucas shook his head. "They abandoned everyone else. Why would we answer?" Ethan's eyes hardened. "Because if we don't, billions will die. If we sit here, the Dominion will not just consume other worlds. Eventually, it will come for Earth. We've survived worse. We can survive this too, but only if we act." Over the next few hours, Ethan and Lucas called Amy Wilson, a former strategist who had served with Ethan in past defense operations. She was calm, sharp, and willing to think beyond fear. "Humans are not soldiers of the Council anymore," she said, examining the message. "They want us because we are dangerous, because we do not follow the usual rules. They are desperate. They will fail without us." Ethan nodded. We will prepare. We don't have to answer their politics. We answer to the call itself. Lives are at stake. That is enough reason. Preparations began quietly. Earth did not have a massive fleet. Decades of isolation had reduced its capabilities, and most of its vessels were outdated. But humans were resourceful. Old warships were repaired, weapons were recalibrated, and civilians trained to serve in critical roles. Volunteers arrived from all corners of Earth: soldiers, engineers, pilots, medics, even ordinary people willing to risk everything. As the ships were repaired and crewed, Ethan and his team studied the Dominion. Hollow screens displayed fleets larger than anything humans had faced before. Enemy ships were built for speed and destruction. Their tactics were efficient, brutal, and unrelenting. Humans did not flinch. They had survived extreme storms, earthquakes, disease, and starvation. The Dominion was only another challenge to overcome. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council continued to fracture. Some species pulled back, afraid of the Dominion. Others hesitated, hoping the humans would fail and draw the enemy away from their systems. Few dared speak up, but whispers of amazement ran through the council chambers as they received news. Humans were preparing. Humans were coming. Ethan stood on the command deck of the largest repaired ship, the horizon of Earth visible through massive viewport panels. He watched the sun rise over jagged mountains, thinking of the lives that depended on him now. "We may be small," he said to Lucas and Amy, "but we are human, and humans survive." Amy nodded. "It is not enough to survive. We must act and we must win. If we hesitate, billions will die. We do not have that choice." The first ships of the human fleet departed quietly from Earth's orbit. They were not large, not elegant, but they were sturdy and strong. Every human aboard knew the danger ahead. The Dominion would not wait, and the Council had already abandoned hope. As the fleet moved toward the first system under attack, Ethan remembered the warning from the Council message. If we fail, no one else will come. It was not a threat, it was truth. And humans, hardened by centuries of deadly survival on their own planet, did not plan to fail. The stars ahead were dark and empty, except for the distant glimmers of enemy fleets. Soon, humanity would show the galaxy why Earth's Deathworlders answered when everyone else walked away. And somewhere in the council hall, the small delegate who had sent the first message watched the stars, hoping humans would not fail. He already knew they might be the only ones capable of stopping the Dominion. The silence of the council was complete, but for once it did not matter. The humans had heard the call, and they were moving forward. Part 2. Deathworlders prepare. The human fleet had left Earth, moving silently into the black of space. Ethan Cole stood on the bridge of the lead ship, scanning the star systems ahead. The enemy was already there, waiting, or maybe unaware. Humans had learned long ago that danger was everywhere, and preparation was the only way to survive. Lucas Brown worked at a console nearby, checking the engines and weapon systems. Even though the ships were old, they had been repaired with skill and care. Every bolt, every panel had been reinforced. Human engineers did not cut corners. They knew that one failure could cost hundreds of lives. Lucas wiped sweat from his brow. "These ships are not new, but they are ready. We can fight." Amy Wilson joined them, looking at the star maps. She traced the enemy positions with her finger, eyes sharp and calculating. "The Dominion is larger than we expected. Fleets outnumber us at least 3-to-1 in every system ahead. But they do not know us. They have not faced humans in battle before. That will be our advantage." Ethan nodded. "We don't have the numbers, but we have what counts. We are human, we endure, we adapt, and we fight smarter than any machine or alien fleet can expect." The ships moved from one jump point to another. Along the way, the crews trained and prepared. Medics ran drills to treat the injured, engineers simulated emergency repairs, and pilots practiced maneuvers in small fighter craft. Civilians who had volunteered learned quickly. Fear was present, but it did not stop them. Humans had long learned to turn fear into focus. One evening, Ethan walked through the corridors, checking on the crews personally. He passed by a group of young pilots, barely out of their teens, who were practicing dogfighting maneuvers in the simulators. Their hands moved quickly, eyes sharp, minds alert. He smiled slightly. "Remember," he said, "the enemy expects panic. Give them calm instead. That is more powerful than any weapon." A medic, Claire Morgan, approached him. "Sir, the teams are ready. We have civilians trained to handle triage in the field. Engineers are preparing for rapid repairs. Even the auxiliary ships can provide support. We are as ready as we can be. Ethan nodded. Good. Remind everyone that this is not just a battle for them. It is a battle for every world that has been abandoned. We are not just humans. We are the line that stands when others walk away. The first system they approached was small, its planets mostly industrial colonies. Reports had come through that the Dominion had already destroyed the local defenses. Entire cities were in flames and survivors had been scattered. The Council had already given up hope for these people. Most species had turned their backs, but humans would not. Ethan and Amy reviewed the plans. They knew they could not face the Dominion fleet head-on with their limited numbers. They needed strategy, cunning, and precise execution. We hit them where they do not expect, Amy said. We move fast, we strike first, and we make them waste their strength on reaction. Lucas added, we can use the asteroid belts nearby. Our ships are smaller and more maneuverable. The Dominion ships are big, slow, and designed for open space combat. They will not handle tight spaces well. The human fleet entered the system cautiously. Scouts moved ahead, sending back reports of enemy positions. Ships hid behind asteroids and planetary rings, waiting for the perfect moment. Every human on board understood that this was not a game. Failure meant death, but fear did not stop them, it sharpened them. As the fleet prepared for its first move, civilian volunteers worked alongside soldiers. Food supplies were distributed, medical kits checked, and weapons tested. Humans did not separate roles strictly. Every hand could be a weapon, every mind a tool. On Earth, survival had taught them that every person mattered. Ethan addressed the crews over the intercom. Listen up. The Dominion expects hesitation. They think we will retreat like everyone else. They are wrong. We are here to fight, to protect, and to survive. Follow your training, trust each other, and do not fear the odds. Human survival is built on facing impossible odds and winning anyway. This is who we are. The first strike teams were briefed. Pilots would fly through asteroid fields to avoid enemy sensors, striking the smaller ships first. Ground teams would deploy to rescue trapped civilians on colonies still standing. Engineers would disable enemy installations wherever possible. All movements were calculated, precise, and fast. Humans did not wait, they acted. During the night, Ethan walked the corridors again. He passed young volunteers, frightened but determined. He saw engineers fixing weapons and shields, medics checking emergency supplies, and pilots running through simulations. Everyone was ready in their way. He felt a quiet pride. This was not a professional Navy anymore. It was Earth's survival itself, alive in every human who chose to fight. Lucas approached him quietly. Sir, the ships are ready, crews are ready, even the civilians are ready. Are you sure we can do this? Ethan looked at the star map, then at the fleet moving silently through space. We have no choice, he said. We will fight, we will survive, and we will show the galaxy why Earth's Deathworlders do not surrender. The first planet they reached was burning. Dominion ships orbited lazily, expecting no resistance. Humans struck from behind the asteroid belt. Small fighter craft darted through gaps, taking out isolated enemy vessels with precise strikes. Larger human ships moved swiftly, avoiding the main fleet while targeting weapons and engines. Humans did not charge blindly. They used strategy, cunning, and speed. On the planet's surface, ground teams led by medic Claire Morgan dropped into the colonies. Civilians had been hiding for days, many starving or wounded. Humans moved quickly, rescuing the injured, organizing defenses, and establishing safe zones. They worked with what they had, improvising as needed. The Dominion was confused. Their scouts reported attacks they did not expect, forces striking where no one should have been. Humans were unpredictable, relentless, and fast. Each move forced the Dominion to react, splitting their fleets and weakening their positions. Ethan watched it all from the command deck, a calm focus in his eyes. They think numbers win battles, he said, but we know better. Humans fight with brains and hearts. We adapt. We endure. That is our weapon. As the first day of combat ended, the humans had achieved more than expected. Enemy ships were destroyed, civilians were saved, and the Dominion had been forced to pull back to regroup. Losses were minimal compared to what might have happened if humans had waited like the Council expected. Lucas came to him, exhausted but smiling. We did it, he said. They won't expect more humans. They'll think we are weak, but we're just getting started. Ethan nodded. This is only the beginning. The Dominion is strong, but they are not prepared for us. Every battle, every rescue, every decision will show the galaxy why humans survive when everyone else runs. As night fell over the burning planet below, humans rested. Some slept, others maintained their ships, and a few simply stared at the stars. They were tired, scared, and yet proud. They had answered the call when no one else would. They had taken the first step into a war the galaxy thought was impossible to stop. Amy joined Ethan on the command deck. "They will come again," she said quietly. "The Dominion will not give up." Ethan looked at her calmly. "We will be ready. We always are. Earth has survived deathworlds, plagues, wars, and disasters. Now the galaxy will learn the same lesson. Humans do not surrender." The fleet prepared for the next system. Scouts scanned, pilots trained, and medics checked supplies. Humans worked as one, every person contributing, every action precise. The Dominion had met resistance they could not understand. Humans were unpredictable, dangerous, and relentless. And the galaxy, watching from council chambers far away, began to wonder. Maybe humans were not the reckless Deathworlders they had thought. Maybe humans were the strongest force the stars had ever seen. And somewhere on Earth, people who had never left the planet watched news reports with pride. Humanity was fighting for others, not for power or glory, but because it was the right thing to do. Survival was not just instinct, it was honor. The first system was saved, but Ethan knew this was only the beginning. The Dominion would strike harder next time. Fleets would be larger, battles more dangerous, and the stakes even higher. But humans had already proven something essential. Even when allies walk away, Earth's Deathworlders answer the call. Part 3. The first stand, the human fleet moved from the saved system into the next one. Reports indicated that the Dominion had reinforced its presence here. Massive enemy ships filled the space around the planets, their weapons bristling and ready. Most species had already abandoned this system. The Galactic Council did not expect humans to fight here, and the Dominion expected easy victories. Ethan Cole stood on the bridge of the lead ship, scanning the enemy formations. His eyes were sharp, his mind focused. "They outnumber us at least 5-1, he said quietly. Lucas Brown, beside him, looked grim. 5-1, and they think we will retreat," he muttered. "They have no idea what humans can do." Amy Wilson studied the star charts. "We cannot fight them head-on, we will be destroyed. But we can split their attention, strike where they least expect, and use the terrain of space to our advantage. Asteroid belts, debris fields, planetary orbits, every obstacle we control can be a trap." Ethan nodded. "Prepare the strike teams. Pilots, engineers, and medics, everyone must know their role. This will be fast, precise, and dangerous. If we hesitate, we lose." The fleet divided into smaller units. Fighter craft darted ahead, ready to engage enemy scouts. Medium-sized ships prepared to disrupt the Dominion's weapons and engines. Ground teams readied for rapid deployment to any colonies under attack. Humans worked together seamlessly. Every member understood that failure was not an option. The first engagement began as human fighter craft zipped through an asteroid field. Dominion ships fired blindly, unable to navigate the dense rocks. Pilots like Ryan Parker and Nina Cole used their small, fast ships to weave through gaps, hitting engines and weapon systems before slipping back into cover. Each strike was precise. Each movement coordinated. Humans were unpredictable, dangerous, and fast. On the command deck, Ethan watched the battle unfold. "They think numbers win wars," he said, "but we fight smarter, harder, and faster. Humans do not follow rules the Dominion expects." Ground teams landed on a mining colony under siege. Civilians had been hiding for days, frightened and weak from hunger. Medic Claire Morgan and her team worked tirelessly, treating wounds, distributing water, and helping the colony organize basic defenses. Human soldiers set up barricades and automated turrets. Every volunteer contributed. Even civilians learned quickly to hold rifles, repair machines, and follow orders. Fear existed, but it did not stop them. Humans used fear to sharpen focus. In space, Lucas coordinated repairs on the fly. "We can keep moving, but engines are damaged," he reported. Ethan nodded. "Keep the shields up and prioritize weapons. We must hold the line until the colony is safe." The Dominion fleet reacted. Massive capital ships turned toward the humans, firing broad beams of energy. Smaller human ships darted through the volleys, avoiding destruction. Humans did not retreat. They advanced, hitting the enemy where they were weakest. Amy Wilson's strategies proved vital. Each maneuver forced the Dominion to react, splitting their forces and weakening their formation. Ethan called over the intercom. "Strike teams move to the inner orbit. The enemy thinks they control the center. We will show them the opposite, hit their engines and weapons. Focus fire and stay coordinated. Humans survive by working together, never alone." Fighter craft engaged in close combat. Pilot Jake Harrison led a daring maneuver, flying between two massive enemy ships to hit their weak points. Lasers flared, energy shields flickered, but Jake's craft emerged mostly unscathed. Behind him, Nina Cole executed a similar attack, disabling weapon arrays on another ship. The Dominion fleet struggled to adapt to humans who thought differently, who moved faster, and who took risks no one else would. On the planet below, ground teams completed evacuations. Civilians were placed in secure zones, automated defenses held the line against enemy drones, and humans worked efficiently under pressure. Even volunteers who had never fought before performed essential roles. One young man, barely 18, carried injured children to safety while under fire. Fear did not stop him. Humans had learned survival on Deathworld Earth. Danger sharpened focus. Ethan walked along the command deck, checking status reports and speaking briefly to each officer. Every human in the fleet was doing more than expected. They were acting as one organism, coordinated, clever, and relentless. The Dominion could not anticipate their next move. Every attack forced mistakes from the enemy. Every rescue saved lives the galaxy had already given up on. After hours of battle, the humans had inflicted serious damage. Several Dominion ships were destroyed, others forced to retreat temporarily. The first colony had been secured. The fleet regrouped near the asteroid belt, repairing minor damage and tending the injured. Losses had been taken, but humans were alive and stronger for it. Lucas leaned against a console, wiping sweat from his face. "We did more than I thought we could." "The Dominion will think twice next time." Amy shook her head. "They will not stop. The Dominion will return with more ships, more firepower, but they are learning a lesson they did not expect. Humans do not give up. We adapt, we endure, and we fight back." Ethan nodded. "Exactly. This was only the first stand. The Dominion thinks they can scare us, but every battle shows them who we are. We are humans. We survive." As night fell on the planet below, humans rested briefly. Some slept, others maintained equipment, and a few stood on observation decks, staring at the stars. They had saved lives and won a victory, but the war was far from over. The Dominion would strike again, and the next battle would be harder. But humans did not fear. Fear was familiar. It was the fire that sharpened focus, the force that made them stronger. They had survived harsh deserts, deadly storms, plagues, and wars on Earth. The Dominion was only another challenge to face, and humans were ready. Ethan met with Amy and Lucas in the command center. "We need to prepare for the next attack," he said. "The Dominion will return with larger fleets, more weapons. We must be ready to strike harder, faster, smarter." Amy nodded. "We will." Humans never fight the same battle twice in the same way. We learn, we adapt, and we overcome. The Dominion will see that soon enough. Lucas added, "We can use the colonies as bases, set traps, repair ships, and continue our offensive. We do not have to wait for them to attack first. We can shape the battlefield." Ethan smiled slightly. "Exactly. Humans do not just survive. Humans shape survival into strength. We will show the galaxy why Earth's Deathworlders answered the call when everyone else walked away." Across the fleet, the crew worked quietly but efficiently. Engineers repaired minor damage, medics treated the injured, and pilots trained for the next strike. Humans were disciplined, coordinated, and determined. The Dominion had underestimated them, and that mistake would cost heavily in the battles to come. As dawn rose over the first colony, Ethan observed the planet through the viewport. Cities were burning in some places, but people were alive and organized. Humans had brought hope where none existed. Humans had done what the Council said could not be done. A young volunteer approached him, eyes wide. "Sir, they're calling us heroes," he said, "but we just did what we had to do." Ethan placed a hand on his shoulder. "We did what humans always do. We survive, we protect, and we fight when others will not. That is enough." The first stand was over. Humans had survived against overwhelming odds. The Dominion fleet had been wounded and confused. The colonies were safe, at least for now. The Council watched from afar, surprised and silent. They had expected failure. They had underestimated humans. But humans knew the war was only beginning. The next battle would be larger, fiercer, and more dangerous. They would face fleets larger than any human had ever seen, and yet they would not hesitate. Humans did not know fear as weakness. They knew fear as fuel. Ethan stood on the command deck, staring at the stars. "We have won the first stand," he said quietly. "But the Dominion is not finished. They will return. We must be ready. Humans do not surrender. Humans fight, and we will show them that every day of this war." And so the human fleet prepared for the battles ahead, stronger, smarter, and more united than ever. The Dominion had met resistance it could not understand. Humans were unpredictable, relentless, and deadly. And the galaxy, watching quietly from a distance, began to understand something it had never realized before. When Earth's Deathworlders answered the call, they did not come to beg, plead, or negotiate. They came to survive, and in doing so, they changed the rules of the War Forever Part 4. Fear changes sides after the first stand. The human fleet regrouped near the saved colony. Ships floated silently in orbit, engines humming softly. The victory had been hard-won, but it had sent a shockwave across the galaxy. The Dominion had expected humans to fail. Instead, humans had survived, adapted, and struck back. Ethan Cole walked the command deck of the lead ship, his hands clasped behind his back. He watched the crew work efficiently, repairing damage, checking weapons, and preparing for the next battle. Every human knew that the Dominion would return, stronger and more numerous. The first fight had been only a warning. Amy Wilson joined him. "They will not stop," she said quietly. "The Dominion will bring more ships, more weapons, more firepower. They will try to crush us, and yet they are scared now. They do not understand humans." Ethan nodded. "Fear is part of our advantage. The Dominion expects caution, hesitation, and retreat. They do not expect humans to fight with determination when odds are against us. That is why they struggle." Reports came in from nearby systems. Planets that had once abandoned the Council's defense now watched humans with a mixture of fear and awe. Some species who had ignored the call for help saw the humans' victories and began to regret their retreat. Whispers spread. Humans were dangerous, relentless, and clever. Humans fought not for glory, but because it was necessary. Lucas Brown approached Ethan with a data pad. "Sir, the Dominion is regrouping. They are trying to coordinate larger fleets, but their forces are fractured. They do not know how to deal with humans." Reports show hesitation in their commanders. They expected easy victories, but humans are unpredictable. They are adjusting slower than we are. Ethan smiled faintly. "Let them hesitate. Every mistake they make costs them ships, resources, and morale. Humans will keep pressing forward, and we will exploit every weakness." Ground teams prepared for deployment to the next threatened colonies. Medic Claire Morgan organized volunteers, training them to assist in evacuation, treatment, and defense. Civilians learned quickly under pressure. Even those who had never held a weapon before became valuable members of the mission. Fear existed, but it did not control them. Humans knew how to act under pressure, even when the world seemed to collapse. In space, the fleet moved strategically. Amy directed movements, assigning targets and coordinating strikes. Small groups of human ships darted between enemy positions, hitting weapons, engines, and supply lines. The Dominion attempted to trap them in large formations, but humans were faster, smarter, and unpredictable. Each engagement weakened the enemy further. On one mission, pilot Ryan Parker led a daring strike against a Dominion supply convoy. His fighter darted between massive ships, avoiding beams of energy while targeting fuel stores. Explosions lit up the darkness of space, and the Dominion fleet scrambled to respond. Ryan returned to human lines, exhausted but alive. Every small victory counted. Every success built momentum. As news of human victories spread, allied species began to reconsider their choices. Species that had abandoned the Council now offered support, sending smaller fleets and resources to assist humans. Some were ashamed of their earlier retreat. Others simply recognized that humans were the only force capable of standing against the Dominion. Ethan addressed the fleet over the intercom. "Listen carefully. Allies may come now, but remember this: we do not fight for recognition. We fight because it is necessary. Every life saved, every planet protected, every enemy ship disabled counts. Humans lead because we survive, because we endure, and because we act when others will not." The Dominion noticed the changes. Reports from their commanders showed frustration, confusion, and fear. Humans did not retreat, did not hesitate, and did not rely on overwhelming numbers to win. Their movements were clever, coordinated, and unpredictable. The Dominion began to lose morale. Fear started to change sides. Amy studied their fleet movements. "They are panicking," she said. "Their formations are breaking down. They cannot keep up with humans. Their command structure is rigid. They expect obedience, but humans do not follow the expected patterns. We can push them further." Ethan nodded. "Prepare for the next strike." "We will not wait. We will continue to press the advantage. Humans survive by acting, by adapting, by never giving up. The Dominion will learn this the hard way." The next mission targeted a heavily fortified Dominion base near a cluster of colonies. Humans used clever maneuvers, striking from unexpected directions, hiding in asteroid belts, and attacking at night when the enemy systems were least prepared. Pilots like Nina Cole and Jake Harrison led daring raids, disabling defenses and creating confusion. The Dominion could not anticipate their moves. On the planet below, ground teams deployed to rescue civilians trapped in cities. Human medics treated injuries while soldiers protected evacuation routes. Volunteers assisted wherever they could, moving supplies, repairing machines, and providing support. Humans worked together seamlessly. Every person understood their role and the importance of their actions. Ethan watched the results on his screens. "Look at them," he said quietly. "They are losing control. Humans are not just surviving. We are shaping the battlefield. Every move we make forces them to react, and every reaction they make is a mistake." Lucas smiled. "They underestimated humans. They thought fear would stop us. It hasn't, and now they are afraid." As the fleet advanced, the Dominion tried psychological attacks, sending messages of threats and propaganda to scare humans. "Surrender or all will die," their communications warned. Humans did not flinch. They replied with coordinated attacks that dismantled enemy supply lines and defenses, proving that threats could not stop them. In the council chambers, delegates who had abandoned hope watched reports in silence. Some species began sending small fleets to assist humans, motivated by respect, fear, or shame. Humans did not ask for help, but the presence of others strengthened their position. Every action reinforced a simple truth: humans survive when others fail. Ethan gathered his senior officers. "We are changing the galaxy's perception," he said. "Allies are returning and the Dominion is faltering, but this is not the time for pride. We continue to fight, to protect, and to survive. Humans act because it is necessary, not for recognition. The galaxy will remember and the Dominion will fear." Amy added, "We can exploit their fear further. Their rigid command structures, their reliance on overwhelming numbers, and their assumption that humans will retreat. These are weaknesses. We strike where they do not expect, and we will force mistakes." Lucas nodded. "Preparing traps and ambushes along the routes they will likely take. Every fleet movement will cost them." The human fleet moved with purpose, striking Dominion positions one after another. Each success built confidence among human crews and volunteers. Morale was high. Every person knew they were part of something larger than themselves, something the galaxy had never seen. Humans were not just fighting, they were proving a point. Survival required action, intelligence, and unity. On one planet, a team of humans defended a colony under siege. Civilians had been left to fend for themselves by allies who abandoned the system. Human soldiers and volunteers fought side by side, protecting children, repairing damaged infrastructure, and coordinating defenses. The Dominion underestimated the determination of humans. Their ships were destroyed, their drones disabled, and their forces repelled. The planet remained in human control. Ethan watched the reports, a calm focus on his face. "Every system we save, every fleet we defeat, every life we protect changes the game. Humans are no longer just a species. We are a force the Dominion cannot predict or control." As weeks passed, the Dominion grew desperate. Their fleets were larger, but mistakes became more frequent. Commanders hesitated, fearing unexpected attacks. Morale dropped. Fear spread among their forces. Humans, who had once been seen as reckless Deathworlders, now became a symbol of unstoppable resistance. Ethan addressed his fleet one evening. "Listen carefully. Fear changes sides in war. The Dominion fears us because we do not follow their rules. They underestimate us because they cannot understand humans. We will continue to fight, to protect, and to survive. Humans do not surrender. Humans endure. Humans answer the call when others walk away." The fleet moved forward, targeting the next cluster of enemy forces. Pilots trained, medics prepared, engineers repaired, and volunteers supported. Humans acted with precision, courage, and determination. The Dominion, faced with relentless human attacks, began to retreat, confused and fearful. And somewhere in the galaxy, species that had abandoned hope now watched humans with awe. They began to realize that survival depended on action, intelligence, and unity. Humans did not fight for glory. Humans fought because it was necessary, and every victory reinforced a single truth. When allies walk away, Earth's Deathworlders answer the call, and when they do, fear changes sides. The humans of Earth had begun to rewrite the rules of the war. The Dominion would no longer advance without caution. The galaxy would remember the courage, skill, and determination of a species that had faced impossible odds and refused to surrender. Humans were not just survivors. They were leaders, defenders, and a force that no enemy could easily overcome. Ethan watched the stars, thinking of the battles ahead. "This is only the beginning," he said quietly. "The Dominion fears us, allies respect us, and the galaxy watches. We will continue." Humans do not retreat. Humans do not surrender. Humans endure. And so the human fleet pressed onward, stronger, smarter, and more united than ever. Fear had changed sides, and humans had proven that survival, courage, and determination could reshape the galaxy itself. Part 5. The answer remembered the Dominion's command fleet had gathered in a massive system near the galaxy's edge. It was their last stronghold, a cluster of heavily fortified planets and massive warships. The Council had long given up hope for these worlds. Most species expected humans to fail, just as they had expected in every system before. But humans had already proven that failure was not in their nature. Ethan Cole stood on the command deck of the lead ship, watching the enemy formation on the holomap. Massive vessels filled the system, each bristling with weapons, shields glowing faintly. The scale was daunting. Even humans had never faced such a concentrated force before, yet fear did not touch them. Fear was familiar, and humans had learned to turn it into focus, courage, and determination. Amy Wilson approached, her eyes sharp. "They are prepared," she said. "Their fleet is larger than anything we have faced, and their defenses are strongest here, but they are rigid. Every movement they make is predictable. We can use that." Ethan nodded. "We will strike not where they expect, but where they are weakest." Humans survive by being unpredictable, by acting when others hesitate, by taking risks no one else will. This will be no different. Lucas Brown joined them, checking the systems. Engines, shields, weapons, everything is at full capacity. Medics and ground teams are ready. Volunteers are in position. We are as prepared as we can be. Ethan looked at his crew. "This is the final stand, not for glory, not for reward, but because it is necessary. We fight for every life the Dominion has threatened. We fight for the colonies, for our people, and for the galaxy. Humans endure and humans act. We will win because we must." The human fleet moved forward, entering the system cautiously. Scouts and small strike teams probed enemy positions, mapping weak points and testing defenses. Dominion sensors picked up the fleet and sounded alarms, but they expected hesitation. They did not know humans. They did not understand what was coming. The first strike was swift. Fighter craft darted between massive warships, using asteroid belts and planetary rings for cover. Pilots like Nina Cole and Jake Harrison executed daring maneuvers, hitting engines, weapons arrays, and supply lines. Enemy ships scrambled, their formations breaking under the unexpected speed and precision of the humans. On the ground, colonists and trapped civilians were being evacuated. Medic Claire Morgan coordinated teams, moving the injured to secure zones, repairing critical infrastructure, and supporting soldiers. Volunteers who had never faced combat before acted with calm precision. Every human understood that survival required action, unity, and courage. Ethan coordinated the fleet. Strike groups hit the weapons first. Engineers disable their defenses. Medics prepare for the wounded. Pilots do not hesitate. Humans survive by acting, by thinking, and by enduring. Every move counts. The Dominion commander attempted to adapt. He ordered massive ships to concentrate fire on human strike groups. Beams of energy flared, explosions shook the void, and debris drifted through space. But humans were fast, precise, and relentless. Every attack forced the Dominion to react. Every reaction became a weakness. Amy watched the holomap, giving orders. Split their forces, force their capital ships into positions where our fighters can strike. Take out supply ships and repair vessels first. We do not need to destroy everything, only enough to collapse their command structure. Ethan's voice was calm but firm. Humans survive not by numbers, but by intelligence, courage, and persistence. Strike where they are weakest and never retreat. The galaxy is watching, and we will show them the power of human determination. Fighter craft flew through dense fields of debris, dodging beams and missiles. Explosions lit the darkness of space as humans disabled engines, destroyed weapons arrays, and forced enemy ships to retreat or self-destruct. The Dominion fleet, confident in its strength, had never faced such unpredictability. Humans struck fast, repaired quickly, and adapted immediately. On one planet, ground teams defended the last remaining Dominion outposts. Humans worked tirelessly, rescuing civilians, repairing automated defenses, and counterattacking enemy forces. Every volunteer and soldier contributed. Even civilians carried supplies, repaired machinery, and assisted the wounded. Fear existed, but it did not control them. Humans knew how to act under pressure, even against overwhelming odds. As the battle raged, Ethan observed the enemy flagship. It was massive, bristling with weapons, a symbol of Dominion power. Amy analyzed weak points and suggested a daring plan. We hit their command directly. Take out the flagship and the rest will scatter. We cannot do it in a straight attack. They expect that. We must be clever. Ethan nodded. Prepare the strike. Every pilot, every engineer, every medic coordinate perfectly. Humans survive by acting together. This is our chance. The strike teams moved with precision. Fighter craft weaved through enemy fire, targeting weak points identified by Amy. Engineers on board larger ships prepared to deploy weapons to disable shields and engines. Every human acted in unison, timing movements perfectly. The Dominion commander tried to counter, but humans had already adapted to his strategies. The flagship exploded in a massive flare of light, debris scattering across the void. The remaining Dominion ships faltered, confusion spreading among their ranks. Humans pressed forward, striking with relentless precision. Enemy morale collapsed and the fleet began to retreat. The command structure of the Dominion was broken. On the planets below, civilians were safe, colonies organized, and humans established control. Medics treated the wounded, engineers repaired critical systems, and volunteers helped maintain order. Every human had played a part in the victory. The Dominion had been defeated, not by numbers, but by courage, intelligence, and determination. Ethan addressed the fleet. We have won, but do not forget why we fought. We did not fight for glory, power, or recognition. We fought because it was necessary. We fought because billions of lives depended on it. Humans survive by standing together when others walk away. Remember that. Amy added, the galaxy has seen humans act when no one else would. Allies who abandoned hope now return. The Dominion has learned fear. We have changed the rules of this war. Humans endure, adapt, and protect life when others hesitate. Lucas smiled, exhausted but proud. We did it. The Dominion is defeated. And we did it our way, as humans always do. Ethan looked at the stars, thinking of the lives saved, the battles won, and the journey that had brought humans from Earth to the heart of the galaxy's war. Humans survive, he said quietly. We endure, we act, and we answer the call. The galaxy will remember that when allies walk away, Earth's Deathworlders answer. In the Galactic Council, representatives watched reports of the human victories. Species that had abandoned hope now offered support and cooperation. Humans did not demand power, control, or leadership. They only asked for a promise. No world would be abandoned again. Survival required unity, action, and courage. The Council agreed, reshaping policies and alliances to ensure that no species would face extinction alone. On Earth, people celebrated quietly. Humans had gone into space to save others, facing impossible odds and returned victorious. Victory was not about pride or conquest. It was about duty, courage, and survival. Humanity had reminded the galaxy that the lessons learned on a harsh death world could not be underestimated. Ethan stood in his home city, looking at the sky. Ships returned from the final battles, crews exhausted but alive. Children played nearby, safe, knowing the humans who had answered the call had protected them. A young volunteer approached him. Sir, why did humans do this? Why answer when everyone else walked away? Ethan smiled gently. Because humans survive. We endure, we act, and we protect life. When others turn away, we do not. Survival is not just instinct, it is responsibility. Humans answer the call, and we never stop trying to do what is right. The galaxy would remember. The Dominion was defeated, not by overwhelming force, but by a species that survived when no one else would. Humans had shown that courage, intelligence, and unity could reshape the course of history. The Council now understood that survival required action, and the galaxy would never forget the answer of Earth's Deathworlders. And as the sun set over Earth, Ethan watched quietly, thinking of the battles, the sacrifices, and the victories. Humans had proven what the galaxy had once doubted. They had acted when everyone else walked away. They had survived, and in doing so, they had changed the stars forever. Humans endured. Humans survived. Humans answered the call.